Guten Tag. Today we're going to review some stuff you probably already know about prepositions, as well as pick up a new group of prepositions. I have here on the title slide accusative, dative, and two-way, which are the three categories of prepositions. Please know that if you struggled with the difference between accusative and dative in the fall, actually that doesn't matter here. These are a totally different use of accusative and dative than what we talked about with direct and indirect objects. So what are prepositions? Preposition is a part of speech, like adjective or noun or verb. Prepositions are words that describe relationships. For example, above, against, beside, by, in, near, toward, through, etc. A preposition and its object, that's the noun that follows it, make up a prepositional phrase. Prepositional phrases are not main building blocks of sentences, so they are not subject, verb, direct, or indirect object. They just add extra descriptive information. They can give example about where, for example, above the window, against the wall, beside the tree, by the gas station. When, in 2 days, at 4 o'clock, before dinner. Or how, with a hammer, in the book, and so on. One thing to know is in English, there's a difference in how we use prepositions between when we are doing something formal, like writing an essay for English, or when we're doing something informal, like speaking or posting on social media. When we're being informal, we can say things like, let's go in, and the word in that example is a preposition that doesn't have an object. There's no noun after it. We also sometimes in our informal speaking like to separate a preposition and its object. For example, if you say, this is my friend that I play soccer with. The with goes with my friend, but I have separated those two things in my sentence. In German, a preposition and its object can never be separated. So to unseparate those two things in the English example that I gave, you would have to say something like, this is my friend with whom I play soccer. If you talked like that, you would get punched. If you were being extremely formal, you might write like that. In German, whether you're speaking or you're writing, you have to keep a preposition and its object together. So I've mixed up the accusative and dative prepositions. You probably at least learned the accusative prepositions as a group in German 1, and you may recognize some of the dative prepositions. For now, I would like you to sort the green sticky notes into which type of prepositions they are, as well as sort the pink sticky notes for the translations that they go with. I'll pause the video here. When you are ready, you can come back. Okay, so here are the answers, the sorted out prepositions between accusative and dative. In German 1, you probably learned the accusative prepositions. Durch means through, für means for, gegen means against, ohne means without, and means at if you're talking about at a time. It can also mean around, like around the corner. You probably learned a song in German 1 to remember these. It was probably durch, für, gegen, ohne, accusativ. So it's great to keep in your head, just so when you use a preposition, you can kind of keep in your head which melody it goes with, so which case it goes with, until that starts to become more automatic for you. The dative prepositions, many of them you've probably seen before, but seeing them as a group may be new. They are aus, which means from, like ich komme aus den USA. Außer, which means except for. Bei, which means at, usually at a place instead of at a time, like by Liberty High School. Mit means with, we use that one all the time. Nach can mean after if you're talking about time. It can also mean to if you're talking about a place, like nach Deutschland. Seit means since. Von means from, usually from a person instead of from a place, and zu means to. Like the accusative prepositions, the dative prepositions have a song to go with them to help you remember them. If you know the Blue Danube Waltz from orchestra, it goes like this. Aus, außer, bei, mit, nach, seit, von, zu. Aus, außer, bei, mit, nach, seit, von, zu. It has the advantage that it gets stuck in your head, and the advantage that it never ends, so you can keep singing the dative prepositions forever and ever and ever. These prepositions are on your vocabulary list if you want a place to keep track of what they are, what case they go with, and what they mean. Lots of them we use all the time in class, so they're worth getting used to. On your next slide, you have an activity where you're filling in the green Post-it notes with articles based on the preposition that comes before them. I've given you a reminder up at the top of your slide that you're doing accusative prepositions. You're going to use your Nisi articles, den, die, das, or die. And for the dative prepositions, you're going to use your Merman articles, dem, der, dem, or den. For some of them, I've given you a word in parentheses that you're going to tack an ending onto instead. So in number 2, for example, you're going to tack an ending onto dein. If I didn't give you an article in parentheses, it's because you're going to use a der word. Pause this video now and come back to check your answers once you have done this exercise. Let's check your answers. Nummer 1 is Ich fahre in die Stadt mit dem Zug. Mit is a dative preposition, so masculine Zug changes to dem. Nummer 2. Wir gehen alle ins Restaurant ohne deine Mutter. Ohne is an accusative preposition and Mutter is feminine, so deine Mutter. Nummer 3. Fritz arbeitet bei dem Stadion. Stadion is neutral and bei is a dative preposition, that gives you dem. Nummer 4. Lara geht zum Park nach der Schule. Schule is feminine. Nouns that end in E are almost always feminine. And nach is a dative preposition. In the dative case, die changes to der. Nummer 5. Kaufst du ein Geschenk für deinen Bruder? Für is an accusative preposition and Bruder is masculine, so the nominative form dein changes to the accusative form deinen, just like der changes to den. Nummer 6. Ich komme aus den USA. Aus is a dative preposition and USA is plural because it's the United States. So den is the dative plural form. Nummer 7. Du gehst durch den Garten. Garten is masculine, durch is an accusative preposition, and der changes to den in the accusative case. Nummer 8. Die Frau kauft ein Geschenk für ihren Mann. Again, für is an accusative preposition, so you add that en ending onto Mann because der changes to den in the accusative case. Nummer 9. Ich wohne in Ohio seit einem Jahr. Ein changes to einem because it's das Jahr in the dative case, so neutral is dem. And Nummer 10, ich kaufe Obst und Gemüse von dem Markt. Again, another dative preposition. Markt is masculine, so von dem Markt. On the next slide, you're going to look at the diagram, which lists the two-way prepositions. We have used some of these before, but this is the first time you're meeting them all as a group. Use the diagram to figure out which preposition has which English meaning and type them into the chart. Then come back to this video when you're ready to check your answers. Means on like a poster hangs on a wall. For on top of, we use auf. So this is on like a book on a desk. So an and auf. For behind, we're going to use hinter. For in, you're going to use in, surprising nobody. For next to, you'll use neben. For over, you'll use über. For under, you'll use unter. For in front of, you'll use vor. And for between, you'll use zwischen. There's a chart in your vocab packet to enter these so that you have them someplace where you can easily keep track of them. We're going to use them quite a bit in class in the coming weeks. Two-way prepositions are called two-way prepositions because sometimes the noun that follows them is going to be in the accusative case and sometimes it's going to be in the dative case. Again, this has nothing to do with direct and indirect objects and everything to do actually with whether something is moving. We'll begin with two-way prepositions with the dative case. When a two-way preposition indicates where something is, that is, it answers the question wo, it takes a dative object. So I've labeled some things in my hotel room and I'm going to describe where they're located. Because I'm describing where they're located, wo, all of the objects of my two-way prepositions are going to be dative. For example, Die Uhr hängt an der Wand. Die Wand changes to der in the dative case. Der Tisch steht neben dem Bett. So das Bett has changed to dem in the dative case. Die Lampe steht auf dem Tisch. Der Tisch again changes to dem in the dative case. And die Flasche steht zwischen der Lampe und dem Bett. Die Lampe and das Bett change to der Lampe and dem Bett. So when I'm describing, again, still location, nothing's moving, I use dative case. So imagine now that you're in your hotel room somewhere and you're looking for your key and you can't imagine where it is located, but you're asking yourself some locations where it could be. For each numbered statement, for each question, you're going to do two things. One is that you're going to look at the picture to the left and put the number of the statement in the bubble that best illustrates that picture. The second thing is then, based on that picture, you'll drag one of the prepositions into the blank to complete the sentence based on where the key is in the illustration. Pause the video and come back to check your answers. Number 1, the question was, ist blank dem Schreibtisch? Schreibtisch is a desk. It's this image right here. That's why I labeled it number 1. And you can see in the image the key is on top of the desk, so auf dem Schreibtisch. Nummer 2, liegt blank der Schublade? A Schublade is a drawer. That's this one, number 2. And in der Schublade is the best characterization. Nummer 3, hängt vielleicht blank der Wand? Wand is wall. Here's the picture, and it's an der Wand. This gives you a good illustration of the difference between an and auf. Nummer 4, steckt blank den Büchern? Here's the Bücher, it's between them, zwischen. Nummer 5, liegt blank den CDs? Here are the CDs, and it's next to them, neben. Nummer 6, such blank dem Bett? Here's the Bett, Nummer 6, and the key is unter, under it. Nummer 7, hängt nicht blank dem Computer? Here's the computer, and it's hanging over it, über. Nummer 8, hast du blank der Tür geschaut? Did you check before the door, I guess is the best translation of that. Vor der Tür is the expression that Germans use for just outside the door. Und Nummer 9, liegt vielleicht blank dem Regal? Here's the key behind the bookcase, hinter dem Regal. And you'll notice I put in bold, all of these articles are in the dative case because we're describing where the key is. So it's answering the question, wo. Now I'm going to have you do essentially the opposite. Imagine that you're checking out your hotel room to see where everything is located. So again, answering the question, wo. I've written some statements describing the stuff in the picture in your hotel room, and I've also color-coded the nouns. Masculine are red, feminine are blue, feminine are yellow, neutrum are blue, and plural are green. Fill in the purple post-it notes with the correct dative articles that go with the nouns in the sentence. Pause the video and come back when you're ready to check your answers. Dative articles. Remember, dative are your Merman articles. Dem for masculine, der for feminine, dem for neutral, and din for plural. So the sentences should be Nummer 1, der Fernseher steht auf der Kommode neben dem Fenster. Nummer 2, die Uhr hängt an der Wand. Nummer 3, Sie können gerne die Bücher auf dem Regal lesen. Nummer 4, es gibt extra Tücher und Decken in dem Kleiderschrank. Nummer 5, eine Lampe hängt über dem Tisch und eine andere steht neben dem Sofa. To use two-way prepositions with the accusative, you have to think about it in a slightly different way. When a two-way preposition indicates movement and answers the question wohin, that is, where is something going, it takes an accusative object. If you remember in German 1, you learned how to ask somebody, woher kommst du? Where are you from? Wohin To where is the opposite of that question word, woher. So again, here's my same hotel room and the same items that I have described, but let's watch what happens when I unpack my stuff and I'm putting it places around the hotel room. Ich stelle meine Bücher auf den Tisch. I move them there. That's why I use auf, a two-way preposition, with den Tisch, the accusative article. Ich stecke meinen Computer unter das Bett. There it goes. I'm putting it there. It moved there, so it's unter das Bett, accusative case. Ich lege meine Schuhe unter das Fenster. Again, I move them there, so das Fenster, das doesn't change in the accusative case. And ich hänge meine Jacke an die Wand. There it goes. I hang it there. It's moving there. Die does not change in the accusative case. So now you'll do a similar activity with the two-way prepositions with the accusative case. Imagine when you grow up that you've moved out of the house, you're living maybe with some roommates, and you are in your own apartment, and your parents are coming to visit, and all of a sudden you have to clean up your apartment before your parents get there. So you're telling your roommates all of the stuff to clean up and move around as you're getting ready for your parents to come. Similarly to what you did in the first round with a similar thing, for each sentence you'll look in the pictures to figure out which image matches with the nouns in the sentence. Mark that picture with the number of the sentence, and then move the correct preposition to show where the item is going. And notice also that all of my articles in bold there are in the accusative case. Pause the video now and come back to it when you're done. Let's go over the answers together. Nummer 1, leg die Kamera auf den Schrank. You can see in the picture the camera is going on top of the wardrobe. Nummer 2, wirf die Zigaretten in den Müll. What? You've been smoking cigarettes, how could you? Nummer 3, häng die Jacke an die Garderobe. Again, this is a good example for an, meaning an up and down sort of on, the way that a poster goes on a wall. Nummer 4, steck die CDs zwischen die Bücher. Wouldn't want your parents to know that you're listening to popular music. Nummer 5, leg die Zeitung neben den Fernseher. Put the newspaper next to the TV. Give them a good impression that you are reading stuff in addition to watching movies. Nummer 6, schieb die Kiste unter das Bett. The box goes under the bed. Nummer 7, häng das Bild über den Fernseher, above the TV. Nummer 8, der Hund muss wieder vor die Tür. Again, right outside the door. Dog goes out in the yard. Und Nummer 9, stell das Fahrrad hinter die Tür, behind the door. For all of these, a good thing to notice is all of them are showing you arrows. That is, all of these two-way prepositions are showing you where something is moving to. And that's why all of these bolded articles are in the accusative case. Speaking of putting articles in the accusative case, now you're going to unpack your stuff into your hotel room. Again, I've written some sentences about where you're going to put everything, and I've color-coded all of the nouns, pink for masculine, yellow for feminine, blue for neutrum, and green for plural. Fill in the purple sticky notes with the correct accusative or nisi articles, and come back and check your answers when you're done. Over your answers. For two-way prepositions with the accusative, you are filling in your nisi or den, die, das, die articles. Nummer 1, ich lege meine Tasche auf den Tisch. Nummer 2, ich hänge meinen Schal an den Sessel. Nummer 3, ich lege meine Sandalen zwischen den Sessel und den Balkon. Nummer 4, ich stecke meinen Reiseführer in die Tasche. Und Nummer 5, ich lege meine Kreditkarte neben die Bücher. To sum up, the reason why this group of prepositions is called two-way is that they sometimes trigger the dative and sometimes trigger the accusative. That makes them different than prepositions like für that always make things accusative, or prepositions like mit that always make things dative. When the prepositional phrase describes static physical location or answers the question wo, then the object of the preposition, the noun, must be in the dative case. When the prepositional phrase describes movement from one location to another, the object of the preposition must be in the accusative case. A good way to remember this is accusative is active and dative is dead. So active, the phrase describes action or movement, versus dead, static physical placement, nothing's going anywhere. You have one more exercise in your slideshow to try this out on your own. Look at the picture of the scene. I've written 8 sentences describing what's going on in the scene. First, copy the blue arrow to paste next to any sentence that's describing movement, or copy the red stop sign to copy and paste next to any sentence that's describing static physical placement. Remember, accusative is active and dative is dead. So in the ones where you marked an arrow, you should use a two-way preposition with accusative. And in the ones that you marked with a stop sign, you should use a two-way preposition with dative. Use the picture to help you decide what preposition to use, as well as fill in the correct article in the purple sticky note. When you're ready to check your answers, unpause the video. There's together. Nummer 1. Eine Frau läuft. The verb laufen gives me a good clue here that I'm dealing with movement. Also, the fact that she's associated with an arrow here in the illustration gives me another clue that we're talking about her movement. She's running into the house. Eine Frau läuft in das Haus. I've used accusative because she's moving. Nummer 2, I put a stop sign because it's ein Hund liegt. A dog is lying, so he's not going anywhere. Neben dem Auto. He's lying next to the car. If you put vor dem Auto, he's in front of the car, or even unter dem Auto, under the car, that would probably be a legitimate interpretation of the illustration. Nummer 3, ein anderer Hund steht auf dem Dach. He's on top of the roof, so he's not going anywhere. Auf, he's on top of it. Dem, he's not going anywhere, dative. Nummer 4, eine Kellnerin setzt das Essen auf den Tisch. This is the one that confuses people as to whether it's movement or not, but it's not. The food is on the table. It's she's putting the food on the table, just like when we were unpacking our stuff into our hotel room. So that one is movement. Auf, it goes on top of the table. Den Tisch, accusative because it's moving. Nummer 5, eine Uhr hängt über der Tür. Here's the clock right here. It's just hanging there. Nobody's moving it, so it is dative. Nummer 6, ein Baum steht zwischen den zwei Gebäuden. The tree is between the two buildings. If you weren't sure if Gebäuden was plural, I tried to help you out by giving you zwei Gebäuden. Tree's just standing there. It's not going anywhere. It's a tree. So den Gebäuden, dative plural, is the correct choice. Nummer 7, ein Mann sitzt hinter dem Fenster. You could also have said neben or even an for where he is related to the window. He's sitting next to it or he's behind it compared to where we are. Whatever he's doing, he's sitting. He's not going anywhere. So dem Fenster, dative case, is the correct choice. Und Nummer 8, eine Katze klettert an den Baum. The cat's climbing up the tree. That's pretty clear movement. So an den Baum, he's that up and down kind of on, and we're using accusative because of movement, so der Baum changes to den. I hope this makes sense. We'll be practicing it more in class this week. Thanks very much.